because I'm down here and it, of course, the hot air rises and the cool air comes down the basement. So it's actually a little chilly down here. No, I'm around because last Thursday I had an accident on one of my bikes, a street bike. I was up. Well, let me start off by saying I bought a used Triumph Bonneville probably a couple months ago, and it's because my wife likes going on the back sometimes. She likes that bike. It was fairly comfortable. So I found it to be pretty comfortable to ride. So I took it on a longer ride up north along the Delaware River, go up to Trenton and cross over the river into Pennsylvania. And there's nice roads, 32 and 611 along the river, along the canal. It goes all the way up to the Delaware Water Gap and beyond. And I used to do that all the time when before I got married. And after I got married, I would do it a couple times a year at least. Go up to Poconos along that scenic route. There's a lot of places to stop to have lunch if you want, or beer if you want, or there's places you can use a bathroom because it's the towpath is a state park all along the river, so a lot of nice little towns to go through. So I was about 120 miles into the ride when the guys in front of me, I guess they saw a fishing spot, and they said, "Hey, let's pull in here." And they did fast braking and to pull in, and I still haven't figured out why. But I had no traction, and I'm used to riding in the rain. I'm used to dirt riding, and I've been riding for quite a while, but I've never experienced a dry road to be that slippery. So I'm braking and my front wheel locked up, and I let go of the brake and I saved it, and then I had to brake again and I hit the brake and the front wheel locked up, and I dumped it and slid about 20-30 feet. I broke one rib and the scapula, the big bone, the shoulder blade bone, and bike got a little screwed up. I fell on my right side, and for some reason the clutch lever on my left side was broken, so I had to come up with a joy rig thing for that and ride basically 100 miles home, park the bike, go to the hospital. And wife was down the shore, so I didn't tell her till I got to the hospital. So I'm out of commission for a while. It's back to ham radio until the bones heal up. And I still don't understand why that happened. I'm pretty used to riding in all kinds of conditions and situations, and I was familiar with the bike, and why that front wheel had no traction, like ice, yet it was a dry road. So I don't quite get it. I'm missing something part of the picture. So that's why I'm around. I'm down here in the shack. I got the radio on, and I was reading Isaac Asimov's New Guide to Science. It's a very interesting book that goes into the history and the information about every facet of science till the book was written. It's pretty informative and interesting read because it gives you both the facts and the history. So that's what I'm up to. Waiting for my super senior to arrive. I guess that'll be a while. And just having some fun with good wholesome AM radio. I'm sure the wholesome AM radio will help the bones heal. WA3 VJE. Oh, I forgot to say. A long time ago, I had a Sansui mic mixer thing. I don't know really what it was designed for, but it had all kinds of ins and outs and all kinds of knobs on it. And one of the things it had in it was a spring reverb, which was pretty cool. You could tap the cabinet and it would go boing, boing, boing. So I think they probably don't do spring reverbs anymore, but that was cool. WA3 VJB from N2DTS on the Wolf.
Actually, the main market for spring reverbs continues to be guitar amplifiers. A friend of mine repairs and restores some of the classic Fender and Vox tube amps. Marshall, high watts, all those. And some of them came with a spring reverb that's in a little galvanized metal housing with pickups on either end of the length of spring. Sometimes it's doubled back. You get more than one spring. And it makes that same sound, you're right. And it also can take the mechanical jar and transmit some output too. The Sansui probably used that for vocals. If that were a PA mixer or intended to drive a PA, sometimes people enhance their vocals if they were a boss jock, spinning this DJ or whatever. Or even for a more conventional stage sound reinforcement, that reverb could be mixed in at varying levels to give you what I call the roller rink sound. Adult skate. Adult skate. I remember that as a kid, having reverb on it. Well, I'm sorry to hear about the Triumph Bonneville. I wonder if that's the one that you found very close to home, that you went and looked at one weekend when I was about to sign off. You were headed out the door to go look at that. I wonder if that's the one. Sorry to hear that the, broken rib and a shoulder. And tip of the hat to you to be able to ride it 100 miles home and then take yourself to the hospital. Man, did it hurt? I gotta think it did. Mercy. I was telling Ed, PTX, that the extent of my road riding was a trip from Southwest Virginia back to Maryland, probably about 200 miles. Some of it on interstate, some of it on 340, which is a state road. Some back roads on a Yamaha, 650. I'm trying to remember the engine displacement. Anyway, a road bike. It wasn't a dirt bike. And once I settled in with what the machine wanted to do, I was pretty comfortable with it. I'd had enough experience on dirt bikes that I knew how to shift and muscle reflex on where the brake was going to be, both my foot and my hand. And the guy whose motorcycle it was cautioned me to stay out of the grease spot in the lane, which I wouldn't have thought of. And I wonder if perhaps the road that you were on, if even for some subconscious minute or two you might have been in that grease spot and it stayed on your tires. And it wasn't until the tread compressed because of hard braking that grease moved to the friction surface and made it slick enough to lock up instead of affect any braking. That was the first thing I thought of. I don't know. And it sounds like the bike is going to be repairable. Hope you are as well. Man. And what was your wife's reaction? Oh, man. Oh, ruin my vacation, will you? Good idea to wait till she got back. N2DTS WA3 VJB on the Super Senior.
Well, I guess her reaction is like, what, again? I'm getting tired of this. And then, like a day or two later, after, I was out of the hospital, her back went out completely and she could hardly walk. So we were in pretty bad shape. And she's a little better. I still can't use the one arm. Yeah, the ride home was really painful, and I just had to do it. So, it would get very complicated. 100 miles from home with a broken bike and being in the hospital. So, you do what you got to do. And on a positive note, she's going down the shore for like 4 days or something down to Ocean City with my sister. She does it every year. Well, now she won't have to worry about me getting hurt on the motorcycle while she's down there, because I'll be home on the ham radio. Yeah, I don't know what the Sansui was used for. It was a very strange thing. It was like a mixture of recording. It had a microphone input, but it had line levels, it had mixing, it had in and out, it had reverb, it had hookups for tape recording outputs and inputs and all kinds of things. There was a very complicated chart on top, and there was 50 knobs on the front, which is why I bought it. I'm always a sucker for knobs, And the fact that it had a mic preamp on it, I said, whoa, this is in the early days of my AM journey. So, they work really cool. And, I used to use it when I would say, I worked you a long time ago, for the long you would add the reverb. And I should get one so I can still do that. That was kind of cool. So there's been some activity here on 40 meters. Band conditions have not been good. Not excessively good during the daytime anyway. And it's pretty few and far between people, I guess, around to get on. I talked to Jim, WA1UQM. I guess he got a BC610 going on 40. It was nice to talk to him. And I told him I had some 100 THs for him. He has no spares. But I got to figure out a way to get them to him without shipping them. I don't know if they'd withstand that kind of transport. And Alf, I talked to him for a while, and a new guy joined in. I was talking to Jim and then Alf, and this guy David jumps in, KC3 SAC. And I guess he switched his 7300 over to AM, which is a common occurrence when the guys hear it on, right? They can see it and hear it, that it's AM. And he tells me he lives in Bristol, Pennsylvania. And I said, oh, that's where Parker and Williams used to be. He said he used to live like down the street from there. And his father was a ham, and Parker and Williamson people used to come over to set stuff up. And he has, he's got a 5100, a 6100, and all that. So that was pretty interesting. I was telling him that I knew they were there. I was a ham. I was interested, but I never managed to get there to check out the place where the dumpster died. I'm sure they had all kinds of really good stuff in the dumpster. So that was pretty interesting. Coincidence. Somebody lives right down the street from Barker and Williamson. A famous name. WA3 VJB from N2DTS.
I'm looking at a box with an R175 plate choke sitting right here, Parker and Williamson. There it is, Bristol, PA. Actually, it's the old spelling, PENNA, which was a standard abbreviation for Pennsylvania. I don't know how they got that, but for many years, you see it on food products approved by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, like they were the be-all and end-all of certified foods. I always wondered about that as a kid. It's sort of like, why is it LB for pounds and OZ for ounces and PENNA for Pennsylvania? Anyway, there's the Barker and Williamson box. Air inductor. Well, maybe that's not an R175 then. I thought it was. Sitting on a brand new pair of 4400s that I got at Dayton about 15 years ago. Brought them home and they've been sitting there ever since. Some guy had like a gross of them. Bruce W2XR saw them. And he rounded a bunch of us up at Dayton and say, hey, you want to go in on a package deal? So sure, I was in on it. And I bought these two 4400s, which are actually the 8348s, the Jan type, I think. I have to look at the box. But they're still sitting there nice and pretty with the yellow tape on them, never opened them. And I bought them for the homebrew rig, which I really didn't need. So I probably ought to flip them for some cash now that they've started to get scarce. Not that I need the money either, but I'd go spend it on some other toy, you know. But anyway, funny you should mention the B&W because I have a red box sitting right here. Sucker for knobs. Well, no wonder you like the Max audio processor. Man, you have to be in your glory with that thing. And per my suggestion of putting the other controls on the side of the cabinet, man, you'll have 360-degree worth of knobs. You won't know what to do. You'll forget to transmit. Oh, man, I got to turn this one. And I like your wife's reaction. This will keep you from going out and carousing. I presume that was the between the lines expectation, right? Especially now that you're a pensioner. Yeah, I've been traveling. We've been out of town for a while. I've been off the air. Yuri, I heard that. And I don't think I've ever worked Yuri, this KC3 FAT. I don't think I've ever worked him, so I'll look forward to crossing paths with him. I suppose he's going to be trying to get a B&W 5100 on the air, if that's what he's got. Be a classic rig to represent Bristol, PA. And Jim, UQM, yeah. Pam and I used to have great extended conversations about various wines. Because they used to have a liquor store, package store. Not, you know, kind of selling miniatures and flasks and stuff. It was a high-class wine, and I think he had cheeses and stuff, too. And he knew a lot of the good blends and varieties that were coming out. I hear him on here occasionally, but not that often. But it's nice that he's got a Beastie 610 on the air, too. Anyway, I heard somebody underneath. I'm listening to the K1VL Shrewsbury, Vermont node here, as well as here at home. N2DTS and somebody else, WA3VJB. Ken Esto.
WA1 Henry, y'all
Well, I switched over a little bit more power. Conditions aren't great, I guess. I hear the voices, but they're down in the mud. Why is my power output so low? Why is it low? Oh, you mean the tube's got to warm up before you start working? I don't know that. That's cool. I don't know how. Yeah, I like talking to Jim. Jim's always good. A really nice killer. So, you know, he's got cool equipment and radio personality, voice. So he's always somebody was complaining about long transmission. I said, not on AM. Never happened. Oh. Yeah, but you won't have to worry about me other than maybe, worrying I'm getting electrocuted or I'll be trying to do something on the roof. I took the vertical down and sold that. And I got a mast up there on the side of the house. I'm trying to figure out what I could do with it. I think maybe a 6-meter antenna. I never hear anything up there, but maybe that's because I don't have a good antenna. So that might be something like I hear they say like horizontal square low, or some kind of loop kind of thing. So maybe that. Verticals don't. I don't get along with verticals. They just don't work for me. So we'll figure out who the braking stations are. Now I'm on the Max. I'm on the Max, and I did a little thing yesterday at Airport. I did a web SDR recording of the Wolf and of this, and I think the Wolf sounded pretty reasonable. I like the way it sounds. This is a little stronger, of course, more power, but I was really pleased with what the Wolf can do at about 120 watts. Anyway, I don't know who's in here. I'll turn it back to you there, Paul. You can separate out the calls. Maybe you're hearing them better than I was. I could tell it was Timmy, but I think it was a couple, and I do have a noise level here. Although it's much better than 80 meters. Man, 80 meters in the daytime here has gotten really bad. I don't know why. Probably switching supplies in the area. So WA3VJB with the multitudes for N2DTS.
Well, I see a carrier that's way down in there. It's right on 90 and 10 hertz. No audio whatsoever. And yeah, Timmy's in there. Right as you were drawing the line through him. N2DTS, WA1HLR. You must be on the Pissweek Class Ranger. Keep the heat down. WA3VJB making a transmission. Yeah, that carrier's still in there underneath. Yeah, we'll get you a reverb. You can find them. There's one called the Fisher Space Expander. I may have one here, and I'll mail it up to you if you want it. I'm not going to use it. It's a high impedance yin and yang. The input and output are high impedance, but you ought to be able to incorporate it into the mic channel of the Max and use your line level input as your primary input, and then, pot that up, because they run in parallel, effectively giving you a little mixer there. I think. Or is that a switch? Yeah, it's been a few months now. I don't remember. Might get one or the other. But regardless, yeah, you could feed that on one of your channels and get yourself some surround sound there with a Fisher Space. I have to create it mechanically. Go ahead, Timmy. Don't filibuster too long if Brett's not hearing you, but I got you here in Maryland. Go ahead.
Okay, no, I'm not going to buzzard. I'm not necessarily running Pissweek low power either. I'm on the Viking 1.5. The Blue Magoo started acting up. I think the plate contactor is an iffy contact on it. And I got to make the time to get into it as the many other projects get done. Hot and pussy up. I gotta go a bit. I'm gonna drive up. I'm not gonna walk up. So I'll hang out here a little bit, but most of the guys are not real strong. So it's conditionally only sucks. So how much of that are you catching, Paul? Brett, I heard about your incident there. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to that Brett is able to hear some semblance of me. I am on an antenna that favors your direction and his. So I'm doing all I can do in spite of the conditions. N2DTS from WA1H in Yelmar.
W2JBL Mobile.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Sweet little mobile in there.
Yeah, you guys are piss weak. I'll let you guys take it, and I'll just be listening because the signals have really dropped out here.
Yeah, Tim was up and down too, but I heard Chris in their W2JBL. Let's bring him in. Hey, Chris, where you at?
I'm at camp sitting in my driveway. I just thought I'd give it a shot. It's 80 degrees here in Old Fort. I'm going to go inside in a second. I just want to see if you guys are able to hear me from up here.
Yeah, so you're at camp in the driveway, right?
Here's the other